Hello, friends, and welcome back to Stories About Entitled People. Sometimes the juice isn't worth the squeeze. This probably also cost the company well over double of what they were losing in the first place, what with paying so many people overtime, plus so many areas falling behind. I'm thinking closer to 10 times the amount, but I'm being conservative here. But before we begin, best way to support our channel is to leave comments, like, and subscribe with the turned on bell so you don't miss the new video every single day. Here we go. CFO changes the cycle count policy, chaos ensues. I used to work for a major food packing company. There's a good chance you have one of their products in your cupboards or fridge. My job was purchasing for production, which was all of the ingredients to make the product. Another purchaser was in charge of packaging, jars mostly, along with labels and shipping boxes. Then there was the warehouse, who are responsible for everything that enters or leaves the facility. These three positions are the only ones required to do cycle counts. Debbie in accounting isn't counting reams of paper and boxes of paper clips, which were generated by accounting and sent to us 2 days before they're due. We all fell under the CFO, and because we all dealt with items that generated profits and loss, we had to do weekly, monthly, and annual cycle counts. Mine were fairly easy, 6 items per week, 15 per month, and everything annually. I'm fairly sure it was similar for packaging as well. And for mine, most of my stuff was fresh ingredients, so it'd be already in production, so I had nothing to count. The warehouse, on the other hand, had a much more simplified schedule, nothing weekly or monthly, 3 items per quarter, and half the inventory annually. They would also get their inventory list 2 to 3 weeks before the due date. This was all intentional because the amount that they had to count was insane, and it'd be lucky if they had 2 people at a time to count. One single item could take a week on its own because of the sheer volume and the fact that product was coming and going constantly. I felt bad for them. We each get a meeting invite from the CFO to discuss the cycle counts and go when the day arrives. CFO explains that they've noticed a loss trend occurring, so they wanted us to increase our cycle counts. For me, in packaging, everything basically doubled. Weekly and monthly doubled, and now we had a semi-annual half inventory count and annually remained the same. It sucked, but was manageable. Then the warehouse was politely ordered to sit on a rusty knife, still no weekly counts, but now had monthly with 5 items, quarterly doubled, added semi-annually with 10 items, and annual was bumped up to 75% of inventory. I looked over at the warehouse guy, Ty, and he just bowed his head. The CFO is a very intelligent, nice guy, but he's all about the analytics of numbers and not the human element. CFO, any questions? Ty, trying to gather his thoughts. This is, a lot. CFO, I'm aware it's an increase, but this is the best way to get the data we need to figure out where the losses are occurring and take action. Ty, are you going to hire anybody else for the warehouse to help? CFO, we do not have any plans to. Ty, can we get a scanner or something? This is going to take a significant amount of time to complete and will cause issues. CFO, let's go by this new plan and we'll reevaluate in a few months. Ty had a defeated look and just said, okay. My next couple of counts took me a little longer, but nothing I couldn't handle. Then came the week of our first monthly with the new rules, and I was missing a pretty significant amount of a couple of items and found they should have been delivered that week, confirmed by the company I ordered from. I went to talk to Ty and found him deep in the warehouse, where he shouldn't need to be as he mostly scheduled trucking to distributors, and on a pile of product trying to count thousands of boxes before the deadline. He was sweating like crazy, and after I explained my issue, he explained they were behind on incoming packages and it could be there. I told him I'd take a look, and if I found them, I'd input it into the system and get him what he needs. I found what I needed and all was well. A similar thing happened the next month, and I began dreading the first quarterly count. The cracks that had already shown got a lot bigger, but the CFO said to stay the course. The warehouse had accumulated a significant amount of overtime, and now outgoing shipments were being delayed. The semi-annual arrived, and we nearly had to shut down the whole plant because the warehouse wasn't getting anything out, but production never slowed, so we were running out of space to store anything. They pulled almost everybody from their office to help with the count, so almost nothing else was getting done. Me and the packaging purchaser handled all the incoming items to help where we could, but the overtime for the warehouse tripled from the previous month. The day after the counts were due, a few people called in sick and many scheduled vacation around when they knew the annual was going to happen. A slow and painful death was preferable. Pretty much everybody in the plant was pissed off, complaining to every manager they could. Within a week, the CFO instructed the warehouse that they were going back to their previous schedule and requirements. Me and packaging kept the new rules, which, whatever, and life returned to normal. I don't know what the full damage was or how things were going forward because I walked out one day, but I hope the warehouse is happy. It's not a win-win, but glad some of the folks doing the heavy lifting didn't end up with the brunt of the pain. And our second story. Ma'am, this phone is split in two. And you want me to what? It was another work day fixing phones, selling screens, people not understanding that phones have brands and versions, etc. Now for a little more backstory. My boss owns 2 stores in the same shopping district, and when I work at one, he works at the other, so most of the workday I'm completely alone, but I'm used to it, so when people have problems and demand my manager, I have to call my boss from the other store from the second floor. Now this lady was, for lack of better words, difficult. And it started like this. Me. Hello, how can I help you today? Lady. Hi, I was wondering if you could help me. Me. Of course, what seems to be the problem? Lady pulls out a sandwich Ziploc bag with a phone and opens it to show me the phone split in half, hanging by the wires inside, and places it on the counter. Lady. Yes, I need you to take a picture of my phone and save them to my Google Drive so I can access them. I stared at the lady, shocked, and pick up the phone carefully to not hurt myself, and look up at the lady in disbelief. Me. If you don't mind me asking, what happened? The lady looks away from me and huffs as if I insulted her and crosses her arms and glares to the side. Lady. I just dropped it when I got out of my car, that's all. I wanted to ask, while driving? But it wasn't my business, and I didn't want to be rude, so I set the phone back down and sighed as I smiled at her. Me. I'm sorry, ma'am, but the phone seems to be incredibly damaged, and I won't be able to get any information off this phone. I apologize. Lady turns back towards me and glares as she huffs again and looks back down at the phone before looking back at me. Lady. I just told you that I dropped it. I just want my pictures off the phone. You need to help me. Me. Ma'am, as I tried to explain, the motherboard of the phone where the information could be is incredibly damaged and won't be able to resurface. Lady. If you won't help me, then get me someone who can. I sighed and looked at her tiredly. Me. Would you like me to call my boss? Lady. Yes. I picked up my phone, and before I could call him, I looked back at her. Me. He works at another store we have here, and it could take a while for him to get here. Is that all right? Lady. Yes, I can wait, but get him here now. I sighed and called him and talked to him that someone wanted their phone fixed and wanted him there. He said he'd be right down. I ended the call and looked back at her with a smile. Me. He said he'll be right down, so if you'll excuse me. I moved to the side and started to help an old man looking for a glitter case for his granddaughter, which I gladly helped him with. It was a good 10 minutes later when my boss came down the way. Boss, towards the lady. Hi, what can I help you with? Lady. Yes, I need help. I need to get the pictures off my phone. Gestures to the completely broken phone. Boss looks at the phone, then back at the lady before he looks at me with the most WTF face ever. I shrugged and we both look at the lady. Boss. Sure. Lady looks like she won the ultimate prize and looks at me with this smug look before she hands my boss her broken phone and a number to contact her when it's done. She walks out and my boss picks up the phone and puts it back in the Ziploc baggie and puts it behind the desk. Me. Sir? Boss. There's no way I can do anything with how damaged that phone is. I'll call her in a week and make up some BS anyways. I'll be at the other store, okay? I nod as he went back to the other store and went about my day, thinking about this lady and how she wanted me and my boss to fix a completely broken phone. He told me he did call her and say there was nothing he could do, and she was not happy at all. I wish I knew the real story for how the phone broke. I guess we're all left to wonder. And our last story. I don't care who you are, you can't park in my spot. I'm a paramedic in a place that has some HOAs and apartment complexes. We hate responding to the apartment complexes because there's nothing but assigned parking and no fire zones. Basically, if we can't find a space to fit in, we have to block the road. My agency also uses first responder vehicles and ambulances. The first responder, as implied, usually arrives first, so we do our best to leave room for the ambulance to fit in. We get a call at the apartment complex. I'm in the first responder. I pull up to the address. By some miracle, their spot's only 2 apartments away. Great, I can leave the road clear for the ambulance. As soon as I park, out comes this guy screaming, "I can't park there." I do the "Are you serious" look and just say medical emergency. He says he doesn't care, I can't park there. Keep in mind, my vehicle has enough lights to make a Christmas tree jealous. I just grab my stuff, lock the vehicle, and keep going. He's screaming he's going to call the cops. I tell him they're already on the way. They respond to medical emergencies. Cop gets there while I'm in with the patient and tells him basically to pound salt. The cop enters the apartment, and this guy really goes full-blown entitled. He enters the apartment, comes into the room where I'm treating the patient, and starts ranting and raving about how I have to move my vehicle. I look at the cop and say, "Get him out of here." The cop then seals his fate. She asks the patient if she wants this person removed from the apartment and did she ever give consent for him to enter. The patient's response, "Get him the F out, he's trespassing." Boom, the all clear. The cop gives him one last chance and tells him to leave or he'll be arrested. He doubles down, "I'm on the HOA board. I can go where I please." At this point, backup's called. The cop at least manhandles him out of the room. The ambulance arrives with PD backup and they get him out of the apartment so we can safely remove the patient. Not entirely sure what happened next as I was in the back of the ambulance, but when I got out, one of the officers approaches and says, "Sorry, but we need another bus. We had to tase them." Policy for the PD is if they tase someone, they have to be transported to the hospital by ambulance, as the taser spikes have to be surgically removed due to the barbs in them. Wait for the second ambulance, they take him, I go back in service. Found out a few weeks later he was charged with trespassing, assaulting an officer, resisting arrest, interference with government administration, aka interfering with the scene of an emergency, all over a parking space that I would have been in for all of 20 minutes if he hadn't created problems. Oh, I love this story. But I hate what he did. But yeah, karma's a B for that HOA guy. Hey guys, thank you all for watching the video. I'll see you in the next one.